All right, now look, today is the day that I have been waiting for a long time. You guys, I have always wanted to get into the world of making my own different types of sausages. And today we're going to start off with making breakfast sausage. I have a 16 and a half pound Boston butt here that I just picked up from my butcher that looks absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to be using a pancake maple syrup blend from PS Seasonings. But first things first, let's go on ahead and break down this Boston butt. Now, once again, the butchers where I went to today, baby, they had this thing looking beautiful. So much so that I did not have to do a single ounce of trimming. The little bit of fat that is on there, I want all of that because that's going to make sure that I end up with juicy sausage links or sausage patties for me. I'm going to be making sausage patties today. I'm not really a links person. I just prefer to just get right to it and make a patty and call it a day. But what I want to do, first things first, is I'm going to break this down into smaller cubes. Now, the meat grinder that I'm going to be using is called Meat Your Maker. And it's a really nice grinder, but the thing about it is the mouth on it is kind of small, so I want to make sure that I'm making the cubes small enough that I can easily just throw them in there because it is going to move quick. Now, although the horsepower on this thing is not like super strong, just understand that this is like restaurant quality, this grinder that I bought. So it's still going to move pretty damn fast. So I need to make sure that I have everything prepped. And as you can see, I've broken it down into these little small pieces. Now, the other reason why I am taking the time to really break this down the way that I am, in all of the research that I've done, and when I say all of the research, you guys don't understand, I have been talking about doing this now for years, so I've probably watched hundreds of videos studying how people do this, and one thing that everybody does is they make sure that the equipment itself is really cold, and they also make sure that the meat is either frozen or if not, damn near close to it. Because as it's going through that grinder and the more you start to handle it, the more it's going to warm up the meat and then the fat just starts to make a mess and then the grinder becomes messy and you don't want that. I mean, look at the marbling on that. It's just absolutely stunning. So, I got it nicely cut up into cubes and then I put it in the freezer while I was starting to weigh out my seasoning. Now, the rule of thumb based upon this particular company is 44 grams per pound. So this was 16 pounds. So I'm going to be measuring out 704 grams of the seasoning. Now, I know that might sound like a lot, but remember, you guys, this is 16 pounds worth of pork that we're using. So it actually turned out to be the perfect amount. And if you love like a maple syrup type of sausage, then this is definitely the seasoning for you. Now, mind you, I'm not being sponsored by none of these people, but honey, it turned out to be everything. And so, like I said, I spread these out onto two different trays and plop them in my freezer so that they could get nice and firm. And now that they're nice and firm, we can go on ahead and just start to run it right through my processor. Now, this is my very first time, like I said, ever making sausage, let alone handling a meat grinder. So, the first couple of seconds, I was kind of like, what's going on? I had the blade backwards. But then, baby, once I got that blade on there, right, this thing was rolling. And as you can see, like, I haven't even sped up the camera. This is really me just moving this fast because that's how quick the grinder is pulling the meat down into the mouth of it. So you really want to make sure that you have everything there and ready to go. Also, do not put your hands down in that damn thing. Don't test it. Just don't. They have tools. And I ended up having to run this through twice again because this is not like the biggest meat grinder. So I started with the bigger tool. And then once I got all that meat through, I ended up turning off the machine, unraveled, took this part off right here, took this gauge off, and then I went on ahead and put the smaller one because that's going to be the final grain texture that we want. And you're going to see what I'm talking about. Like right now it's really chunky, but now you see it's coming out like what you would see if you're working with a ground pork. And this is exactly what we want. This is the same process that I'm going to use when I make ground beef, which stay tuned because I will be doing that as well. But yeah, so now I'm just running it through one more time. I only had to do it twice because I could tell that this is all that it needed. And again, you have to move quickly because I'm telling you guys, once this stuff starts to heat up, the fat will start to just make this process way more complicated than what it needs to be. So, keep the meat in the refrigerator and just add it in the machine as you go, because the colder it is, the better off you will be. Trust me. Also, down in the comments section, let me know what other type of sausages you guys would love to see me make, because I'm definitely going to be making some bratwurst. I'm going to be making ground beef, but I'm interested in getting into different types of sausages, especially once I start to explore and using sausage casing. Again, I've never made my own sausage, so that's why I was like, you know what? For this first time around, I'm just going to make sausage patties, because at the end of the day, it's all going to taste the same and it's going to do the exact same thing that I want it to do, okay? And I gotta say, I was really impressed with this machine. It just made this whole process for me really, really, really easy. I did not know what I was going to be getting myself into, but it turned out really, really well. So now that I have all the meat, grinded down, I've gone in and added in all of the seasoning. Now, once again, I know that might look like a lot, but remember, we are working with a little over 16 pounds worth of ground pork. And so now I'm just giving this a good mix until I start to kind of see that all the seasonings have kind of blended in. And then what's important is now we need to make sure that we alter the texture. Right now, if I tried to cook this would just completely fall apart and it would turn into crumbles. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in at a half a cup at a time, ice cold water. And I'm going to continue to mix this. And as I continue to mix it and add the water to it, that is going to alter the texture of this pork. What we're looking for is for it to have a sticky texture. So much so that once I have it in the palm of my hand, I want to be able to wave my hand upside down and that pork is still clinging to my hand. That's when you know that you have the right texture. If you don't alter the texture of it, again, it's just going to turn into crumbles, and you don't want that. You want to make sure that it holds its texture, and you want to make sure that it has that sausage bite. So right now, I'm doing the test right now to see if it clings to the bottom of my gloves, and as you can see, it has. And this is what we want. That's how I know that I no longer have to keep mixing it. And so now, the most important thing to do, honey, is to do a little taste test. Because again, I never did this before, so I wanted to know what I was working with. And baby, when I tell you, I was in shock. This tastes 10,000 times better than what you get in the grocery store, because I literally just freshly grounded up that entire Boston butt. It doesn't get any fresher than that. I just added the seasonings. And what's crazy is I know it's going to taste even better once it starts to sit, because I'm going to be freezing almost 95% of this. So those flavors are really going to have time to develop. So for it to taste that good at this stage when I just freshly made it, I can only imagine how great it's going to taste in a couple of days or in a couple of months as I start to defrost it. And speaking of that, like I said, I'm going to be freezing a lot of this. So I'm going to be weighing it out to be about £1 per bag. And then some bags I'm going to do 8 ounces, because not every single time I take it out do I want to have to work with a full pound. And I'm making patties, like I said, so I'm not going to be doing any sausage casing today. I'm going to put these into my seal type bags. I have purchased a vacuum sealer. I'll make sure that I have it on my Amazon storefront in case any of you guys want it. I'm going to flatten that out, run it through the vacuum sealer, and then literally that's it. And just like that, you guys, I have 9 1-pound bags, and then I have about 6 or 7 of about 8 ounces or so, and I've reserved some that I kept upstairs in the fridge because I'm going to have that fresh tomorrow. But I think I did pretty damn good on my very first time of making my homemade, breakfast sausage. Looking forward to doing more.